pole dancer. Welcome to the Evidence-Based Pole Podcast. My name is Rosy Boa. I'm a pole dancer, pole teacher, and personal trainer. And I've started this podcast so that we can learn together, talk with the experts, read the research, and feel better on and off the pole. So if that sounds like something you're interested in doing, let's go. So today we're going to tackle a big topic, but one that is super important and I spend a lot of time thinking about, and that is, how do we create within ourselves and others the desire for physical movement, in my case, pole, right? And this is something that I know a lot of folks I work with struggle with as well. Something that I struggle with, which is, particularly if you've got a home pole, you can go use that at any time, right? Like I could be doing pole stuff instead of recording this. So how do I create the desire in myself to go do pole stuff that is great enough that I stop what I'm doing when I have time, right? Like I want to record this. This is on the schedule right now. But how do I create the desire that is great enough that I just go do it, right? And that's a hard problem. That is challenging to do, particularly if you've got a lot of other, demands on your time. Because it's not just that I have to want to go do pole, it's that nothing else has to be more important to me at a specific point in time, right? So case in point, again, I could be doing pole right now instead of recording a podcast episode because this is more important to me. So I think what is for me a really big part of actually showing up for myself and also helping other people show up is trying to make the time that we are exercising feel as good as possible, right? And so I really think a lot about pleasure, because if we have a good time while we're doing pole stuff, we're more likely to come back to it and build, that habit and keep showing up and keep making time for the thing that we like. And also we like the thing that we like, right? Because if you really like pole and then you go take a bad pole class, or like just one that's not a great fit for you, and then afterwards you're like, that didn't feel good, and I used a lot of my motivation points or spoons to go do it. Those are two different things, by the way. Motivation points I just made up, but I know a lot of folks who are predominantly working at home for pole are also working with some sort of chronic illness or something else that's limiting their overall capacity. So all of that is to say, I think that there is definitely some things that we can draw from the research that's been done on related topics. And it's really interesting because when I started doing my research for this episode, there was both less and more than I expected. So there's actually a passage in the paper, Motivation States for Physical Activity and Sedentary Behavior, Desire, Urge, Wanting, and Craving by Stoltz Kolemainen, perhaps, et al., 2020 in Frontiers in Psychology, that quickly talks about some of the related fields of study and sort of the approach that they take to figuring out how people want things, basically. So I'm going to read a little bit from that. So among those specific to movement, so these are models of wanting, perhaps the theories most aligned with the idea of desires and urges are the Affective-Reflective Theory, Brand and Ekkekakis, 2018, and the model from Conroy and Berry, 2017. And we're going to read a lot of papers from, I've read a lot of papers from Ekkekakis today, really, really central researcher in this question of pleasure and exercise. But skipping down a little bit, in motor control, the idea of desires for movement have been formally articulated as wants, which emanate from the inferior parietal lobule of the brain, Dismergit and Sirigu, 2012. In medicine, the concept of restless urges has been studied for decades. Garcia and Borreguero et al., 2011. The concept of appetance, A-P-P-E-T-A-N-C-E, what a word, i.e. strong and provoking desires for movement, has shed light in mechanisms of addiction, Ferreira et al., 2006. In musicology, the concept of groove describes the ability of music to generate feelings of the urge to move, Matthews et al., 2019. There appears to be considerable overlap in the concepts of desires, wants, urges, and related constructs, yet they seem to vary by the dimensions of magnitude, specificity to movement behavior, whether the desire is conscious and felt, as well as valence. However, all of these concepts may commonly be characterized as, quote, affectively charged motivation states, Kavanaugh et al., 2005, and associated feelings that signal a pressing need to approach or avoid a state of muscular movement, or conversely, a state of rest. So basically what they're saying is that motivation is tied to how you feel, right? Your emotions, affect. And that there is also an associated feeling of just wanting to move in a specific way. So with that in mind, right, that this is something that a lot of people have studied in a lot of different facets, there's not quite as much study on pleasure and exercise, again, as I expected, weirdly. What are some specific recommendations that I can make based on the research for tweaks that you can make to have a better time? And so I've picked out a couple studies that I think are particularly relevant for us as pole dancers and that have specific recommendations that you can apply. So the first one, and this is something that I talk about a lot, is keep the intensity a bit lower. So I know that, especially if you're in fitness space at all, high intensity movement is something that people will talk about a lot. And yes, you can, reduce the total amount of time that you need to move for the same amount of benefit by moving with higher intensity. But you're also reducing pleasure, unfortunately, right? It does not feel as good, particularly if you're not already exercising. So there's a paper by Panteleimon Ekkekakis, again, same guy. More efficient, perhaps, but at what price? I really like that title. Pleasure and enjoyment responses to high-intensity interval training in low-active women with obesity. Quote, that's their wording. I don't love some of the framing in this paper, but, and this is in Psychology of Sport and Exercise, but the general finding they had was that in general, there were more feelings of pleasure associated with medium intensity exercise than there were with high intensity exercise, and that the difference was greater sort of the less overall exercise someone was doing in their life, right? So medium intensity, moderate intensity. And so a good, marker for something being moderate intensity is, can you talk while you're doing it? Or can you hum while you're doing it? So, and I'm not saying it's wrong to do high intensity exercise, and I know some people really enjoy it, and if that's you, feel free, but also don't feel like you have to always push yourself 100%, because that's likely to lead to you having less fun. And if you're not having fun and you're thinking back, oh, I remember the last time I, did pole, I did the super intense conditioning and I didn't really enjoy it, it makes it less likely that you're going to come back again. And as always with movement, all types of movement, consistency is far more important than intensity. Way, way, way more important. So if you do want a little bit more intensity, right, then there are a couple things that you can do to help, again, make it feel better. So one is to not go for as long, right? Take a little break. So there's this interesting in a paper, feelings of pleasure to high intensity interval exercise is dependent on the number of work bouts and physical activity status in PLOS One, and that's by Frizzao et al., 2016. And basically what they found is that they took super active people and people who weren't super active. I say people, I believe it was all men, and they had them do like a bunch of bouts of high intensity exercise training. And for the super active men, throughout, they still had like a positive feeling, right? Like it never got to the point where they're like, I dislike this, but it did go down slowly over time. And for the men who weren't as physically active, after the third bout, so basically doing like a bunch of exercises and you get a little break, a bunch of exercise, a little break. And when I say a little break, I mean like 10 seconds. By the third one, they were not having a good time, right? They were having negative affect. They were saying like, I actively dislike that. And that downward trend continued over time. So for both groups of people, the longer they were doing it, the less fun they were having. And for people who weren't already really active, that happened super fast. So my first recommendation would be to reduce the intensity, not do the super high intensity training. And then my second recommendation would be, once you stop having fun, take a break, do something else, right? You get to choose what you do with your body. And hopefully you're not in a situation where someone is bullying you into doing movement that doesn't feel good to you. And if you are, I'm happy to have words with them as a fitness professional. And the other thing you can do, again, if you're interested in a little bit of higher intensity, is if you are changing the intensity of the exercise over time. So let's say you're doing resistance training, you're changing weights. It is better in terms of how much pleasure you're going to feel to start with the heaviest stuff and then go down than it is to start with the lightest stuff and then go up, once you're warmed up, of course. Even though the total amount of resistance was the same for these two groups. And this is for Increasing the Pleasure and Enjoyment of Exercise, a novel resistance training protocol by Hutchinson et al., 2020, in the Journal of Sports and Exercise Psychology. Even though the amount of, resistance was the same, the people who started with a lot and then went down had a better time and had more fun. And then this was... also sort of building on a previous study, can you have your vigorous exercise and enjoy it too? Ramping intensity down increases post-exercise, remembered, and forecasted pleasure. So like looking ahead. And this was by Zenko et al. One of the et al. Is Ekkekakis, in the Journal of Sports and Exercise Psychology, 2016, right? So if you are going to do a little bit more hard stuff, do the hardest stuff first, right? So, in terms of pole, if you're working on a big trick that's new to you, start with that and then end with something that's a little bit, less intense. So those of you who've taken my pole classes will know, we have a warm up and then we do our technical stuff. And then at the end of class, we have time to just freestyle, dance, stretch, noodle, right? So we take kind of a downward slope over the course of the class. And if you're doing your own training, start with the hard stuff and then do easier stuff. You will have a better time. And also when you're looking back on it, being like, should I do pole again? You know what? Last time it was fun. Yeah, you remember feeling better than you would have, right? Not necessarily like amazing, depending on a bunch of other factors. So, and then there's a sort of a broader thing to think about, which is this concept of self-efficacy. So this is something you'll hear a lot about in teaching, in exercise and psychology. And basically it's this belief within yourself that you can achieve the things that you want to achieve, right? That you can have the effect that you want on your environment, on yourself. And again, Ekkekakis, 2003, Pleasure and Displeasure from the Body, Perspectives from Exercise and Cognition and Emotion, found that at lower intensities, again, so that's what I'm recommending, right? Moderate intensities over super high intensities, unless, you're training for something wild, in which case you do you. Probably your trainer's already giving you, appropriate exercises. That at moderate intensity, it is more important to address sort of your cognitive need to feel like you have control and agency and, evidence of success that makes you want to keep working, right? So this is something that I think about a lot as a teacher, because it can be a pretty easy trap to fall into as a pole teacher, to just teach the things that are easy for you to do in your body, and to assume that what is easy for you is going to be easy for other people. And that's just not the case, right? Bodies vary tremendously, abilities vary tremendously, movement experience in your life, like other things that you do, vary tremendously. Right? Like if you, let's say you have worked professionally as a dancer, you are going to have a very different relationship to your body than someone who has never done that and say has worked a desk job for most of their adult life and maybe still works a desk job, right? You're just going to have a different relationship. Different things are going to be easy. Different things are going to be hard. You're going to have different capacity for different movements. And so, given that, one thing that's really important to me as a teacher is making sure that I'm offering a lot of options, and options that are going to be available and accessible to people with a wide variety of different abilities and capacities, right? So those of you if you've taken my pole class, you already know this. I always give like 1,000 options for different things, and then I encourage you to explore the things that are most interesting to you. It's pretty common for me in my class to be like checking in with students, and everybody's working on something different because that's the thing that's most appealing to them. And also, if you're working on the thing that's most appealing to you, you're more likely to have success, and then you build the sense of self-efficacy and self-determination, and you feel better about yourself, and you have a better time. It's more pleasurable. You want to do it again, right? All of this is coming together towards this like broader goal of helping us, all of us, me included, really build up this desire to want to continue to show up consistently, because that's what's gonna feel good, that's what's gonna help you out in your life, and that's what's gonna be best for your body. So and this last one, so this is a fun study. This is from 2018. The influence of self-selected music on affect-regulated exercise intensity and remembered pleasure during treadmill running in sports exercise and performance psychology by Hutchinson et al. You may recognize Hutchinson as the one from the resistance training down ramping study. That's Jasmine Hutchinson. And guess what? If you pick the music you move to, you like it better. And also, adding music really increases feelings of pleasure during exercise. Guess where you get exercise to music? It's pole class. So this is I think a lot about music. I think a lot about movement in music. It's something that's always going on in at least some part of my brain. I was talking with my business coach yesterday, and I mentioned like how many playlists I put together in a week, and she was like, "Oh, that's a lot." And I was like, "Yeah, that's part of the experience of coming to a pole class. Part of the reason why you would train with someone, particularly if you're training at home. And again, you can just do it by yourself whenever. You don't need me. Part of what you get from working with somebody is, well, at least if it's me, a wide variety of music, because I want you to try moving to different things. I want you to explore and experiment. And that's part of what I really enjoy about taking online pole classes as well, is learning new music, finding, stuff I really like to listen to, being reintroduced to old favorites, and also having a chance to pick the music that I move to. So for my freestyle flow classes, at the end of class, there's a chance for people to bring in songs that they want to dance to. And it's great. It's a good time. I enjoy watching folks. I know folks enjoy, bringing their music to dance to. And we're going to get way more deep into that in the Freestyle Foundations course that I've got starting February 18th. So if you're interested, that's on Sundays. I'd love to have you come join. And it's designed, if you're already a competent freestyler, please feel free to come, but it's more designed for people who are newer to freestyle. And one of the things you're going to do is you're going to bring music to dance to. So, research, science fact. I do try not to just do things for no reason. I try to always have a reason for why I make the choices that I make. And if I don't have one, I try to figure out where it came from and, adjust and change as needed, because I want to do the best job that I can for y'all, and really make it as easy as possible to have a pole practice that feels really good at home. Because that's, it can be a challenge to do on your own, and I am right there with you. It can be a challenge to do on our own. So, if you're putting together your home pole practice and you're like, okay, what should I do? Put on that music that you like and you want to dance to. Aim for moderate intensity. Don't aim to go super hard. Do the hardest things first. And also, do things that you can succeed at, right? Remind yourself of past successes that you have had. Revisit moves that maybe were challenging when you learned them, but you can now do, right? Or notice that, hey, it used to be a real struggle for me to move to a whole song, and now I can do it no problem, right? Or I used to have a really hard time noticing what flow felt like, and now I can really tune into it. So all those things together, little things that you can integrate into your movement practice, into your pole practice to help it feel better, because I want you to feel better. Because that's the point, right? That's the whole point of me teaching pole, is to help you feel better, and build the sustainable movement practice that you can take with you into your life. So that's all I've got for you today. As always, citations in the down there. If you're just looking for, one person's CV to go through and find more studies, Panteleimon Ekkekakis, who I believe goes by Patty, is at Iowa State, and has been one of the main researchers working on this topic for the last little bit. So good starting off place if you're interested in doing your own literature review. And with that, I will see you very, very soon. Goodbye. Thanks. Thanks so much for joining me today, pole dancer. This podcast is a production of Slink Through Strength, the inclusive, evidence-based online pole studio. So if you're looking for a place to train, either off pole, conditioning and flexibility, or learning pole tricks and refining your pole movement, you can find us online at slinkthroughstrength.com.